Greetings. Welcome to this very interesting TED Talk discussing the tragedy of Macbeth.
What is the nature of tragedy?
Well, today we're talking about what is tragedy in a play.
Alright, so where did tragedy even come from? We have to go back in time to ancient Greece, Athens to be more specific.
Athens was the cultural hub of ancient Greece, which means we got a ridiculous amount of plays from there, and also means a certain English playwright tended to steal a lot of their habits when he was writing. No prizes for guessing who that is. So basically, they wrote in three different styles: comedy, satire, and of course, tragedy. The tragedies were, let's say, heavy on the tragedy. Like you'd be lucky if any of your favourite characters survived the play, and especially lucky if your least favourite characters didn't.
Of course, one of the most famous tragic Greek plays is called Opius. If hearing that name makes you feel a little gross, it should. You all know the play I'm talking about. Have you ever had a day where you feel like everything has gone wrong? Yeah, well that's Opius's life. Imagine being told you were destined to kill your dad and marry your mum. You spend your whole life trying to avoid it and then accidentally do it anyway and kill yourself because of how gross it is. If you can't imagine that, it's probably a good thing.
Opius is a good example of the most important element of a tragedy, which is hubris. Hubris is basically when a character's head gets a little too big and God, or in his case, the gods, decided to take him down a peg or two. The Tragedy of Macbeth is a play written by William Shakespeare in 1606 and was first performed in Hampton Court Palace for King James I and King Christian IV in Denmark, August 7th, 1606. The play tells a tale of a husband and a wife obsessed with power and willing to do anything for it, even killing innocent women and children.
The tragedy in Macbeth is his thirst for power and how he would sacrifice innocent lives for it. Macbeth is a character that undergoes a dramatic transformation as a result of ambition and his pursuit of power. His ego and overconfidence started with a visit to the witches with Banquo, his brother-in-arms, where he is told that he should be king and Banquo's offspring shall be the kings thereafter.
Now, Macbeth's ego then got the better of him as he envied the fact that Banquo's bloodline will have the crown. Macbeth raged over the fact that he has given a fruitless crown as seen in Act 3, Scene 1, lines 60 to 64, where Macbeth says, "When they first put the name of the king upon me and bade them to speak to him, then prophet-like they hailed him father to a line of kings. Upon my head they placed a fruitless crown and put a barren sceptre in my grip." Is that how you say it?
Yep.
A fruitless crown means that Macbeth will not have any children to inherit the crown after his death. For Macbeth and his ego, he needs children to follow on his own legacy in the crown. This led Macbeth to not trust Banquo as he believed that he betrayed him and his trust.
This is Macbeth's ego getting the better of him as he attacks Banquo, as he has let the witches control the way he thinks and makes decisions. Macbeth at the start of the play is a proud and noble man serving his king and country, where after the battle he meets three witches. The witches tell him these prophecies and he trusts these strangers and tells his wife, Lady Macbeth, who has peer pressured him to kill the king. This for me is tragic at the start of the play, as to see once a great man have such a great fall and spiral out of control into evil, and how everything has a little bit of evil inside them, that just a small trigger to bring them out. This same evil can be seen in Lady Macbeth, as she sees an opportunity in the play where she receives a letter about Macbeth meeting the witches and immediately wants to kill the king. She then goes on talking about how she would give up everything about being a mother and being pure, so these actions could happen. In this time that this was performed, women's main areas were to be carers for the children and look after them. And for someone to have such a radical viewpoint strengthened the power she had over Macbeth. I found that my experience in the play of the tragedy of Macbeth relates to today as well, and everyone doing what they can to get power and money. For example of this is Donald Trump. He's the president and was already fairly wealthy and had a bit of power before he was president. And now that he has become president, he's made some questionable mistakes. For example, building a wall in Mexico. This relates to Macbeth in that him becoming king and ruling Scotland, him making those mistakes as well, and everyone starting to dislike him with the same as Donald Trump. Thank you for listening to our TED Talk. I hope that you learned something more about tragedy and the story of Macbeth. We hope that you don't have to deal with any tragedies as severe as Macbeth or Opius had to. We leave you with a question. What would you do with power or money?